ATN News Associate Editor Noah Otieno joins me in studio to delve deeper into talks about the political climate, talking to men behind power. Noah.
That's right, Sharon. Tonight in Men Behind Power, we have with us the Executive Director for ODM, Mr. Otieno, and we are also expecting the Vice Chairman of Jubilee, Mr. David Murade, who says he is on his way. This week, NASA unveiled their deal. They say it's not a power-sharing deal, but exactly what they want to do for this nation after, and that is if they win the August 8th general election. We want to put some of the hot questions that people have been asking around the country about this deal that was signed on Wednesday, about exactly what NASA wants in this election. And Mr. Durong, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Welcome to Men Behind Power.
Thank you, Noah.
I want to ask
good evening, viewers.
Yeah, I want to ask you this question first. Kalonzo Musyoka has been very loyal to Raila Odinga, to CORD, for over 5 years now. Is it too much to ask? Is Raila Odinga too big to say Kalonzo Tosha this year?
Yeah, thank you, Noah, for that question. First of all, let's look at the country. I think as Kenyans, we are so obsessed with individuals. We are facing a crisis. For the last 4 years, we have had a national crisis. Whether it's about corruption, whether it's crisis in education, whether it's in crisis in health, everywhere we have a crisis. So Kenyans should ask, how do we get out of this crisis? And that is what NASA is doing. First of all, we are giving Kenyans what our platform is. That as NASA, this is what we stand for. As NASA, this is how our government will look like. The issue of who becomes president, who becomes what, is important, but that must not be the top issue.
Yeah, they have confirmed tonight that what they are seeking, despite the Jubilee criticism and the laughter from Jubilee members, what they are seeking is exactly political power. And political power is about deal making. It's about giving and taking, being fair to your friends. Do you think that the backers, the people behind Raila Odinga, would allow him to endorse someone else in 2017 without him, Raila Odinga, being on the ballot in NASA?
Now you know that Raila Odinga is one person who has before even stood up at Uhuru Park, not behind closed doors, and endorsed somebody else when everything looked very uncertain. So it's not beyond him to do that. But for us now, that is not a bridge we have reached. First of all, Kenyans should look at Jubilee first. You know, many people are saying Jubilee has failed because it has not fulfilled the promises it made to people. But where I stand, the very moment Jubilee unveiled in its manifesto, even if it had fulfilled everything, that is not what Kenyans would have wanted. Because if you look at what Jubilee promised, 5 stadiums in every county, mega infrastructure projects, and so on. Those things are important, but they are not about food on the table of the ordinary mwananchi. So the first thing is about what does the Kenyan out there need? The Kenyan out there, before you talk about SGR, is about the matatu fare from Dandora to town. It's about the price of the packet of unga. It's about the child being able to go to school. It's about people going to this hospital and being able to get medicine. When I'm healthy, I'm well fed, then I can look for the stadium. I can go to the stadium. The child who does not have a roof over the top of a classroom, even if you give them the laptop, I'm not saying laptop is useless. So first of all, let's ask ourselves, what did Jubilee promise us, even if we don't check at how they have performed. And that is why, as NASA, we are telling Kenyans that actually what Jubilee did was to give you a post-dated check. And this post-dated check, when you took it to the bank, it bounced. And now again, they want to come and give you another post-dated check. It's only a fool that you would give a post-dated check, it bounces, and then you accept another post-dated check from them.
Part of the reason that Jubilee is laughing, even this evening, is because it is 6 months to the election and counting down. Everybody knows exactly who they are voting for or against in Jubilee Party. Nobody knows who they are voting for or against in NASA. Would you think this is a disadvantage to NASA, or is it an advantage or a tactical game that is being played by NASA?
No, that is another diversionary issue from Jubilee. Let's look at the history of this country before we even look elsewhere. In 1992, for those who were there, when did various parties pick their presidential candidates? I remember, for example, for Ford Kenya, which I was very close to, they picked their candidate at the end of October, and the elections were end of December. That was 2 months to elections. In 1997, look at 2002, the Kibaki Tosha declaration. It was in October. The elections were in December. 2 months to the election. 2007, both ODM Kenya, when did they pick their candidates? It was 31st of August and 1st of September. That was barely 3 months to elections. The last election, 2013, when did the Jubilee, who are now making a lot of noise, pick his presidential candidate? It was at Jivanji Gardens. When was it? It was December. Elections were in March. And that is the same time CORD also picked his presidential candidate. So this is diversionary. If they have their candidate and there was no process, their candidate went through, that is good for them. Yeah, let them market their candidates. Let us do the process. Let Kenyans know what NASA is going to be. Let them know the difference between NASA and Jubilee, and it is like day and light. And even such a big country like US, which is a continent, when did Democratic Party and Republicans pick their candidates for last year's election? It was in July, 4 months to elections. We are still talking about 5.5 months to election, and some people are running around because they have nothing to tell Kenyans about what they have done. And therefore, all they can say is about a flag bearer, a flag bearer, a flag bearer. So what we need is how to fix the country that Jubilee has destroyed.
There's another issue that has arisen this week, especially after the KANU party announced they would be backing President Uhuru Kenyatta for 2017 re-election. KANU has been cavorting, has been dancing around with NASA. At least some members of KANU have been dancing around with NASA at their public events. Does NASA feel like a jilted lover this week?
I don't know about a jilted lover, but you know KANU has been there longer than any other party. So people know about KANU. So everybody would have loved KANU to have changed when it was in the in the opposition. But you know, it is their freedom, it's their right. As a political party, you are supposed to be driven by ideology. So KANU has found its ideology is closer to Jubilee, and that is their right. So nobody should feel like a jilted lover. Nobody should feel like whatever it is.
Does it complicate the arithmetic for NASA? Especially considering that NASA presence in the South Rift region and in a large part of the Rift Valley symbolically was seemed to be within reach with KANU supporting NASA. How does it complicate the arithmetic for NASA in the Rift Valley?
Sometimes I'm amused by you people in the media. This obsession with regions, ethnic groups, and so on. Let's talk about Kenyans. What have Kenyans missed in the last 4 years? That is what NASA is going to fix. So it's not about numbers that KANU would bring this, and so would bring that, so would subtract that. Every Kenyan knows what Jubilee promised, what it was able to deliver, if at all it did, and what it has not delivered. And therefore, it's about Kenyans taking stock, doing a scorecard for Jubilee, and asking, do we want even one more day of Jubilee? For us, that is the most important thing.
Okay, as you wind up.
That is why we are so confident that come 8th of August, Kenyans who have been experiencing the Jubilee rule will make a decision. If they love oppression, if they love what they see in corruption, if they love everything, let them elect Jubilee again.
Finally, as we
but
wind
if
up.
they want an alternative, then NASA is giving them. So it's not about complicating arithmetic and so on. It's about Kenya.
And that is exactly where I want us to wind up.
Yes.
This deal that was unveiled on Wednesday and the future deal that will be unveiled next month in terms of the so-called power sharing, in what way do these deals deal with someone bolting out at the last minute? What are the mechanisms that will deal with somebody deciding, oh, if you guys are not choosing me for deputy president, if you're not choosing me for flag bearer, I'm going. How will you prevent a fallout and a bolting out by any of the principals in NASA right now?
Yeah, again, I'm loving where you are going, but I'm not going with you there.
Why not?
What was unveiled on Wednesday were two things. One was an agreement, a coalition agreement. And for you to reach an agreement, it means that you have looked at your various parties, what they stand for, what are their various respective ideologies, what are their programs, because these are different parties. Unlike Jubilee, we didn't tell people, fold your beddings and join us in my bedroom. No, we told them, you are because parties are formed to pursue something, policies, ideology. And then we looked at these four parties and any that might want to join. Where are the minimum that we agree on? What we don't agree on, NC you can keep, ODM you can keep, Wiper you can keep. But the basic minimums that we agree on, we reach an agreement that we are going to pursue this and we want to work together to achieve them. Once we agreed on that, that is what informed the coalition agreement. And those areas where we agree, they were summarized in the 7-point program of NASA. And if you look at them, from number 1 to 5, you will see it's about national unity, it's about the Kenyan. Okay. The rest, the other two is now what looks at what Jubilee is dangling all around, although it didn't even achieve them, and that is the enablers. Because when you talk about SGR, for them it's the end. For us in NASA, infrastructure is an enabler to make Kenyan have food on their table, to make Kenyan have health services, to make Kenyan farmer be able to take
and
their
that
goods to the
NASA
market
agenda, that
so
NASA program is exactly what we shall be discussing with you. Again, hope you'll be joining me again in Men Behind Power next Saturday. Sharon, you've had Mr. Otieno, the Executive Director for ODM, speaking to us about the challenges that Jubilee is throwing at NASA and the questions that Kenyans are asking after the unveiling of the deal on Wednesday. We shall be talking more in Men Behind Power on Saturday tonight. Unfortunately, Mr. David Murade, the Vice Chairman for Jubilee, has not made it on time for this show, but he will definitely be here next Saturday. I'm Noah Otieno, and this is Men Behind Power, the place of politics. Sharon.